Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. In this video, we're talking about how Hogwarts Legacy is running and performing on the PS5 and how it's apparently been discovered that it performs better on the PS5 than it does the Xbox Series X. Now, Hogwarts Legacy is obviously a very big game and it's selling really, really well. And, this is something that people have kind of been waiting for, specifically looking at Digital Foundry, waiting to kind of hear what they have to say and what their results and their analysis is going to end up showing us. So this is reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, and they say now that a new patch has been deployed, fixing various crashes and trophy issues, the time has come to properly assess Hogwarts Legacy's performance. Interestingly, despite the Microsoft flagship's more powerful hardware, the new Harry Potter game runs better on PS5 than on the Xbox Series X. As discovered by Digital Foundry, while both consoles deliver the same visual quality, the PS5 version, quote, offers up a significantly more consistent experience than the Series X counterpart, end quote. The PS5 version in performance mode manages a nearly locked 60 frames per second, and the fidelity and fidelity ray tracing modes achieve a consistent 30 FPS that is, quote, very difficult to drop at all, end quote. Performance mode on the Xbox Series X, on the other hand, is, quote, very shaky, with dropped frame rates being a near constant, end quote. Generally, PS5 is better than Xbox Series X across the many different visual modes, so it's a win for the Sony console. So this is what Digital Foundry's extensive analysis has discovered with all of these different consoles. The PS5 version has come out on top. Now, yes, we do need to acknowledge that Sony does have the marketing rights to Hogwarts Legacy, and there are quite a few people who are claiming that the reason why we're seeing these results is simply because of that. They decided to prioritize optimization for the PS5 version and not the Xbox versions of the game. Now, I can't disprove this. I don't think anybody can prove it nor disprove it, but the reality is we've seen this happen enough times at this point that I think it's safe to say that that's likely not the case, right? It would be one thing if this was just like a standout thing where if over the past 2 years, we've consistently seen multi-platform games look better and run better, as, many claimed that's what would happen. If we saw that consistently over the past couple of years, and then randomly Hogwarts Legacy is outperforming the Xbox Series X version, then yeah, I'd probably say, well, yeah, there's something a little bit weird about that. But we have been seeing the PS5 outperform the Xbox Series X console, even though, as the article points out, the Series X on paper is supposed to be the more powerful console pretty consistently. Now, that's not to say, before anybody gets upset, that's not to say that the PS5 always comes out on top. The reality of the situation is there are plenty of games that do run slightly better on the Xbox Series X. But the point here that I think is worth paying attention to is the fact that we now are entering the third year of these consoles being out on the market. And if you look back at, the marketing of these consoles and what was said about it and the hype surrounding them, did Sony overhype the SSD? I mean, sure, maybe a little bit, right? Like, I can understand looking back why some people were maybe like, I don't know, Sony's going a little bit too hard with the SSD here and focusing too much on that. But then again, you look at the other side of the coin and you look at the way that Microsoft marketed the Xbox Series X, and it was simply all about the power, the 12 T-flops. And believe me when I tell you, a lot of the fan base really ran with that. And I'm sure you guys remember how we would always hear multi-platform games, especially the AAA games, such as something like Hogwarts Legacy, are going to look and run better on the Xbox Series X than they will on the PS5. And that's due to the full RDNA 2 architecture and the bigger GPU, and it has 52 compute units compared to the PS5 only having 36, so on and so forth. And, a lot of people pushed back against this for quite some time, basically saying, look, it's not that simple. You simply cannot assume just based on the, paper specifications that you're going to see these results that you're claiming. One thing that people were also pointing out is when it comes to the architect of the PS5, that being Mark Cerny, don't underestimate his ability and what he's coming up with here with the PS5, because while it may seem less powerful on paper and it may not be 12 teraflops, it's probably going to do some really incredible things and very likely end up surprising people. And so, to me, this is pretty standout, I'd say, with Hogwarts Legacy, because I mean, I watched this Digital Foundry video and I looked at the inconsistent performance of the Xbox Series X version. And I mean, look, could it be poor optimization? It could be, and it might be, and we might find that out later on. But even if that's what it is, and this is the final point I want to make, even if that's why we're seeing, this poor, inconsistent performance on the Series X, and maybe some people want to defend it by being like, look, it's going to get patched out, it's going to get fixed. You still have to ask the question, like, why does this keep happening? Why are developers either A, choosing to not properly optimize, which I think is unlikely because they want their game to have only positive press around it, not negative, regardless of the platform, right? So it's either A, they're just choosing for one reason or another to neglect optimization for a specific platform, or B, they're just simply having a harder time optimizing for this console. Now, let me ask you, when we look back at the launch of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and right out of the gate, we already started to see games outperforming the Xbox Series X. Not every game, but, more than what was expected, certainly. Again, we were told that just simply wasn't going to happen. At that time, there were a bunch of excuses being made that, oh, maybe it's like the tools or something like that, or, these developers have yet to really fully tap into the, RDNA 2 architecture and all the features that the Series X development kit offers, and so on and so forth. And like, look, at that time, it's like, okay, maybe that's the situation. But again, we are here now in 2023 with a big AAA game that just released on these consoles, and one of them is performing, in my opinion, significantly better than the other, and it's not the more powerful console. So, I don't know, man. To me, it just seems clear at this point, abundantly clear, I should add at this point, that, it turns out Mark Cerny, the architect of the PS5, as well as the PS4, he knows what he's doing. And when he gave that big PS5 breakdown and presentation, talking about every single design decision and, why they went with that decision back in 2020, leading up to the launch of the PS5, it turns out that it was all for a very specific reason. And I think that was to just ensure that when developers are, multi-platform developers specifically, they have to deal with a bunch of different platforms. They have to deal with a bunch of different optimization. They wanted to make sure that when it comes to optimization for the PS5, it's as easy as it could possibly be. And I think we have seen the results of that. But again, I just want to end this video because I know some people might get a little bit upset, but I don't want to make it sound like the PS5 just completely stomps the Xbox console or the Xbox Series X. It's not the case. The Xbox Series X is a fine console. It certainly holds its own. And as I said, there are even situations at times where the Series X has a slight advantage for one reason or another. But again, I'm just trying to highlight that for, what was supposed to be the weaker console by quite some margin, it not only seems to be holding its own very well, but it's certainly, I think, exceeding certain expectations. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.